Well, all right, y'all. All across the USC, Compton, Watts, Bay to LA, Pomona, California, from valley to valley, we represent that killer Cali. So if you keeping it real on your side of your town, you tune in to Gangsta Chronicles.
Gangsta Chronicles, we gon' tell you how it goes.
If I lie, my nose will grow like Pinocchio. We gon' tell you the truth and nothing but the truth.
Gangsta Chronicles, this is not your average show.
You're now tuned into the real MC8, Big James, and Big Steel.
This is strictly from the streets.
Hello.
We represent the James.
No, because to be honest with you, I'm gonna keep it real. It's like my thing. Once she had done what she did for me, I was more so now concerned. Okay, let me get away and let me cover her tracks. Mm-hmm. So I knew that okay, with her being missing, if she would have just stayed there with me and she had appointments and work in different places to be, somebody could have reported her missing or she could have been missing. Mm-hmm. And then at the same time, it could have somehow linked her back to where, because she stopped and got some gas across the street from the jail. And so I knew that eventually that could trace her back to being there at the jail at that time. You know, so basically I'm trying to come up with ways to cover her tracks and prevent her from getting in any trouble. Mm-hmm. So I pretty much, instead of, she wanted to stay there with me. But I'm like, I think the best thing for you, for me personally, that would have been the best thing. I should have kept her right there in the room until my ride came and then just disappeared. But being soft, you can say, being more concerned about not wanting to get her in trouble based on how far she had went.
Like, fuck that.
I wanted to help her cover her track. So my thing was like, continue to stick to your normal schedule. Don't change nothing up, because if you change something up, that make you look suspicious. She had a doctor appointment. Go to your doctor appointment. Go do all that stuff that you had scheduled to do, so that you won't become missing, and people wouldn't assume that okay, you might be involved in it, you know. And what happened is she actually went home sooner than she was supposed to, and they was over there sitting there waiting for her.
So they was over there waiting for her. So how long had you actually been free?
I think I've been free like 10 hours, something like that.
Oh, so man, you wasn't out no time. They hurried up and came and got your ass, huh?
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, man. How was it? When did you know that the gig was up? Did they kick the doors in? Did you hear them coming to get you?
I looked out the window and saw a dude with police written across his windbreaker in the back looking in the trash can. And that's when I kind of knew. So I went to the front door and was finna step out, and I just heard a bunch of footsteps. You know, you hear like a bunch of noise. It's uncommon noise. So you know that it's more people around than it normally is supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? So that's when I knew, like, okay, they out there for me. Just from the noise, I'm hearing all the commotion and footsteps or whatever, you know what I'm saying? So, and it was around a time like that you wouldn't normally hear, you know, this many footsteps, you know, just walking around. So I'm like, okay, they must be out there coming to get me.
And for the record, she dimes you out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when he got
So they caught her.
Yeah.
Did they whoop your ass?
Yeah, you know, they roughed me up, put the gun to my head, you know, they celebrated, high five, you know what I'm saying?
But I know they had to tell you were a smart motherfucker.
Yeah, they wanted to know how, you know, they were a little fascinated. They got to talking about movies and books and all this type of shit, like, you know, just joking, but they were fascinated by it.
Yeah, I'm sure they was curious.
Yeah, so now we in the aftermath because they know you an escape artist.
Yeah.
They really know what happened once you get back, man. Did they transfer you somewhere else?
They took me to federal supermax, and this was supermax where once you get convicted, then this is where John got in, all in was locked at supermax. So I was pre-trial. I hadn't even been to trial yet, but the judge, they went to my judge, they put me in a car, took me straight to the court building, went in front of my judge and said, look, we can't keep them in no detention facilities. We got give us permission to put him in the federal supermax with all of the convicted people. And the judge signed off on me. He took me to supermax. And I was in supermax, and when it's time for my court to come, they'd come get me, a bunch of cars, put me in there, drive me to court, and take me back to the supermax.
Now this is the part, ladies and gentlemen, right here that really trips me out. So you get your sentencing right now and everything, right?
Yeah,
you get sentenced.
I got sentenced like 2 years after I escaped, close to 2 years, something like that.
Now, what happened because you beat him again? Let's go through the details of that. Because you beat him once more, but you beat him, to me, which is a much better way, because if you would have escaped before and been successful, you'd have been pretty much on the run your whole life, the rest of your life.
What happened was they sentenced me to 35 years.
And that was because of the marijuana?
Because of the marijuana, just for the marijuana.
Just for the marijuana, 35 years.
35 years just for marijuana.
But on top of that, they probably gave you the 35 because you didn't escape from it.
Well, I got 5 years, 5 for all them escapes, but they run it together. And they gave me a 35 just for the marijuana.
Oh, so you was about to do about 60 years then?
Nah, because they had to run it concurrent.
Okay, gotcha, okay.
So, but yeah, the 35 was just for the marijuana. But in 2020, or the end of 2019, really in 2018 is when, I seen it. Beginning of 2019, started seeing like a little. There was a conflict in the law. And whenever there's a conflict or disagreement in the law where the language doesn't match, it's up to the judges to interpret it. That's what judges are for. Judges' whole job is to interpret law. Mm-hmm. They're supposed to be the referee and between the prosecutor and the defendants, and also to sentence you too. But so was some conflict in the law, which is called a compassionate release statute, and where the sentencing commission are the ones who's supposed to determine what amounts to extraordinary compelling reasons to release a person on compassionate release. But the language conflicted with something that was changed during the First Step Act. So pretty much I saw you'd have to be understand the law to really understand it. But there was a conflict in the law right there. And my position was that, okay, since there's a conflict in this law right here, since one thing says one and another part says another thing, it's up to the judge to interpret what it actually means. And the thing that was conflicting it was who can determine, because there's what was it, 84, when they sent it, 84, 86, 84, when Reagan signed in the Sentencing Reform Act and they took away parole. Mm-hmm. So when they took away parole, they also put in a section called the compassionate release section, which said that the Bureau of Prisons can ask the courts to release a prisoner or reduce his sentence for extraordinary compelling reasons. Because without that means that anybody with a life sentence or 30 years or whatever, you just be in there for that and can never get out, even if you're dying. So the Bureau of Prisons was never actually asking courts to release prisoners under this statute. Every year you might get 12 people at the most who the Bureau of Prisons would actually ask the court to let out for compassionate release. And all of them were dying. Most of them died days after they were released. So in 2018, they kind of amended that statute and said that, okay, if the Bureau of Prisons refused to file a motion for compassionate release for the prisoner himself can go straight to the judge and ask the judge to grant him compassionate release. But now there was a barrier. Another conflict is because when Congress implemented this law or passed this bill in 1984, they said that the Sentencing Commission determines what is extraordinary compelling reasons. So that means that the Sentencing Commission would identify criteria under which the judge can actually let you out for compassionate release. And they put 4 criteria in there. And one of them that you had to be over 75 or 65 or something like that, and you done did 2/3 of your time and you in poor health and can't take care of yourself. The second one was that you was dying, you had some type of terminal illness which you would likely die from. The third one was that you was the parent of a minor and the other parent happened to die. And so it was imperative that you be out there to take care of that child. The other one was what they said was other reasons as determined by the Federal Bureau of Prisons. So that means that the Federal Bureau of Prisons can offer compassionate release for any other reason that they determine, right? But we know that the Federal Bureau of Prisons is not going to request to have nobody put out because their job is to keep people in prison.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And so, based on the fact that the law had just changed in 2018 saying that even if the Bureau of Prisons doesn't do it, the defendant can then go ask the court on his own. So you see there's a conflict there. So if I can ask the court on my own, why does the Bureau of Prisons have to be the one to determine the other reasons?
Exactly.
If I can go to the court now, then the court should be able to determine other reasons.
Right.
You know, but now, according to the law from the Sentencing Commission, the courts can do it. But now when you look at the new law that was amended, it said that I can go to the courts. So that is contradicting there.
Conflict.
It's conflicted. And so now, fortunately, my judge had retired. And now I just had a new judge, Nancy J. Rosenstengel, who was appointed by Obama. And she was a sweetheart. She was a good judge, compassionate judge. So I say, okay, I'm gonna file this motion to her saying that she has the authority to determine what is extraordinary compelling reasons.
What's that other reason?
Exactly, because that Sentencing Commission policy contradicts with the amended statute.
Bingo.
And so I put everything together. You know, I got a lot of letters of support. At the time, I had been released from solitary confinement like 4 years, 5 years, something like that, 4.5, almost 5 years. About 4.5 years I had been released. And I was doing a good job. I was pretty much ran the prison. That prison, I pretty much ran it. You know, I taught classes, I, killed beefs, I saved people's lives. I did all types of stuff in that prison.
So you were just an extra good citizen in there?
Yeah, that was my prison. If you call a prison now, I ran that prison. Police, everybody called me Bosco. I did what the fuck I wanted to do in that prison because of my approach, any type of incidents, you know what I'm saying, I made sure that dude was functioning accordingly.
Well, I'm gonna ask you this, Bosco. Why in the hell you didn't try to break out again?
If they would have denied this, I probably would.
Get the fuck up out of here.
If that wouldn't work,
yeah,
right back on.
Probably so. You know what I'm saying? And to be honest with you too, I just started seeing how they was changing the laws with marijuana. So it's like every year I was holding on to the fact, okay, maybe the Fed's gonna decriminalize it.
Right.
Then I'll be able to present something in and get up out of there that way. But this last thing I put together, it worked out for me. The judge granted me immediate release. She ordered them to let me right up out of there, and they came and kicked me right up out of there, put me on a plane, flew me to LAX. That was 3 months ago.
Wow, man.